Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hi Somnath, how are you?
Good, sir. Thanks for asking.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Arulmati, how are you?
Good, sir.
Oh, I forgot for which company you're working now?
Sir, I'm not currently working. I just moved to Canada. I'm searching for QA roles here.
Achha. Where in Kerala?
Canada, Canada.
Canada, achha. Yeah, sorry, you told me long back that you are moving to Canada.
Yeah, yeah, sir.
Yeah, I think 1.5, 2 years back, no?
Yeah, yes, sir. I just got my work permit 2 months back.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to search for because getting into R&D is a tough task here because everyone is asking for a permanent residence or uh, because the criteria is for getting into R&D is PR. We can go
Okay,
easily
okay.
or with a reference. So I'm trying for QA roles.
Yeah. And for PA roles, what would be is there any qualification or experience?
For quality assurance associate, they are asking for 1 hour, um, 1 year's max of experience, but they are asking for MDR or something
Sure.
else like that. But if it is transferable, we are already on to the ISO 1348 environment, we can justify that this is transferable so that I can adapt to the place.
Okay. And it's like in Canada, you have manufacturing units, or it's like uh, uh, something
Yeah,
like the.
manufacturing units also there, sir, for injectables like vaccines, there and pharma companies. But pharma, they are asking for um, pharmacy degrees. But I had my biotech degree, so I'm looking for the both. But let's hope for the best.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of my colleagues there in Canada,
Okay.
in Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. I'm nearby, sir.
As such. But they are working in university. As associate or assistant, professors. But however, they will guide you. I'll
Sure,
give
sir.
you a
Okay.
reference. You share your CV with me. I'll modify it and I'll share the reference of it to you.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
You share your updated CV.
Sure, sir.
Okay, fine. So we'll wait for another 3 minutes and we'll start. I think we better start. As per my schedule, actually, we are running short of one session. By this time, we should have completed the class 8. Okay. But however, no issue, we may have another session. But for the sake of those who are absent and for the sake of those who are present yesterday, maybe those who are present yesterday, can you tell what we discussed on clause 5 on quality, like on management responsibilities? Okay, just a recap of what we discussed yesterday on the management responsibilities, clause 5 on, or like management commitment. What are the important things or important clause which we discuss or subclause which we discussed? Rulmati or Majid, can you tell what are the important things in the management responsibilities? Is that just management gives you salary, that's enough? What are the responsibilities of the management? For whole of 2 hours I discussed yesterday, and you tell me 4-5 points. Majid, what are the management responsibilities? Are you there? Yeah, you can unmute and talk. There's no need of writing or typing in the chat. You can unmute and tell, I can't read all those. Yeah. Akanksha says that it's to establish quality policy. Quality objective, that's fine. But what is the other important thing? Yeah, I told you, like,
management commitment,
yeah, management review
performance,
meetings. Yeah, they need to conduct management review meetings,
quality policy,
quality objectives. What else? They need to provide the resources. What are the resources, basic resources that the company requires? These are called 3 M's. First is the material. Okay. Second is the machinery. Third is the manpower. Okay, they need to provide these resources. Of course, there will be management review meeting. And what are the inputs of the during the management review meeting? What are the major inputs the management will discuss with the organization? Can you tell one or two things what the management basically discusses during MRM management review meeting? Of course,
Project means product performance, NCs, and targets of the batches.
yeah, yeah, that's fine. But apart from that, there are few other things. The management first need to see that whether the organization is complying with the QMS. Okay, and to know that, they need to look at a lot of things like the internal audits are being conducted, or what are the non-compliances in the internal audits, how you being closed. Of course, they look at the production, productivity, rejection rates. Okay, what are the non-conformities? Most importantly, guys, they look at the complaints. Okay, As I said, the complaint speaks a lot. The complaints are inputs for a lot of other clause. Okay, the complaint handling procedure, how many complaints you have. Of course, you need to also understand whether the CAPA is closed for the complaints. Okay, these are some of the things, and also they ask for you what are the resources you additionally require. And of course, there will be like the updates, what's happening, because the management won't be, aware of the updates that are happening in the quality or in the regulatory prospects. Okay, you need to tell them these are the some of the QMS updates or ISO 13485 updates. I said yesterday, a lot of things are going to happen in 2026. What are the regulatory updates? Okay, whether there is some changes in EUMDR, or there is change in 510K or FDA, or the changes that are there in the back compatibility, as I shared, as I only shared with you, I haven't discussed, but there are very interesting changes that happened. Or maybe after, next 3 sessions will be very interesting. One is on clause 8. Okay, on the it's basically on the measuring, monitoring, and improvement. That is clause 8, where we'll be studying a lot about, one is the internal audit, the second is the complaint handling, the other is the CAPA. Okay, and other things like data analysis and how to improvements. How can you improve on that, your product safety? So I basically like clause 8. Of course, it's not that the other are not important. Okay, and even clause 7.3, which we will be discussing in this session, okay, on design and development, is also important. Of course, I personally like these two, 7.3 and whole of clause 8. Okay, it's because it's not that I am interested, I am saying that we need to spend a lot of time. But clause 8 gives real inputs or actual picture of your organization. Okay.
And sir, also you discussed about internal communications, how we have
Last
to.
time we discussed about internal communication, like how you communicate internally with the mails. But see, Arulmati, when you communicate internally, there should be some objective evidence. When I say objective evidence, when the auditors come, when the auditors comes for the audit, you need to show objective evidence. It's not that verbally you say that I have done this, I have done this, I have conducted audit, I have done CAPA and all this stuff. No. You need to show the objective evidence that, okay, this is the complaint. Okay, this is the CAPA, this is the internal audit schedule. Okay, we have circulated internally the communication. I told you that there will be a circular which will be passed to all the departments. There is an internal audit and everybody has to sign. So when the audit comes, you need to show that a particular copy, it could be hard or soft copy, anything, that this is the objective evidence that we are doing it. Are you getting my point? Every time when the
Yes.
audit comes, of course, I'll be teaching a lot during the internal auditor training session. The audit or the auditor or anybody inspector who comes to audit your organization, okay, they don't listen to your words. Where they don't listen or they don't see how smart you act. Okay, sometimes people will be over intelligent, over smart. That is not good before the auditors. Okay, you need to go point wise. Whatever they ask, they need to show. If it is not there, tell them why it is not there. But don't try to beat around the bush and write a story or craft a story to the auditors. It looks very bad. And I'll tell you later that it's good to, talk to auditors as minimum as less as possible. Just directly need to answer to the question. Okay, you should not talk extra other than the question because it complicates the matter. That I'll tell you how to answer to the auditors. Okay, actually what I'm speaking, yeah, internal communication and other things. From where I have gone to where? Yeah, management review meetings, all this we'll do it in the reviews, and there should be defined outputs, what the management decides. Of course, on the resources also. Okay, what machinery you need, or you need extra manpower. Every department has to put forth through HR that this is the manpower required. The HR has to come to the management and say that, and you need to give a justification why you need more manpower. Whether you are upgrading, or there is more capacity, or there is some shortage, or somebody left your organization, okay, or it's a replacement, something like that. I mean, that are the management review meeting.
And you told that we can discuss compliance in review meeting.
Complaints and the complaint trends, like what are the common complaints that are occurring, okay, the probability of the occurrence. Basically, some companies have, I do the trend analysis of lot of companies. What are the common complaints they have? Okay, I mean, day in, day out, they have a lot of complaints. But we also have to look into the other side of the coin, or whether they are severe, or complaints of high severity. Okay, then we need to have a very documented procedure of complaint handling, how you handle the complaint, and how you worked out on the corrective action or preventive action. Okay, by using, I mean, root cause analysis, what we call RCA. You need to do a root cause analysis and address the CAPA. Okay, I told you, correction or corrective action, something which we do temporarily, but preventive action is one which we totally stop the reoccurrence of that particular complaint happening again and again in the life cycle of the product. Okay, that's what some of the things we discussed, guys, yesterday on management responsibilities. So management is not something like just have money or pay your salaries or funds and buy equipment. Management is not that we just uh, legislate our responsibilities to others. Management, a very good management, okay, involves totally in the day-to-day activities to keep your QMS compliance or your company compliance with whatever the standards that apply, whether it's quality or the regulatory standards. Okay, and I see a very few managements doing this. I mean, I am not discriminating anybody, but there are managements who just appoint somebody like an management representative uh, who has some authorities. We discussed what are authorities and responsibilities yesterday. But things sometimes uh, cramp up, or things sometimes go wrong when the management is not involved. Okay, and auditors also of late are taking very, I mean, stringent action of, I mean, earlier 5 years, 10 years back, I never have seen a NC, a major or minor NC during the audits. Okay, when during the audit, basically the auditors won't give any NCs for the management. Okay, on class 5, they won't raise any NCs. Okay, I don't know the reason why. Of course, there will be 1-2 NCs on the management reviews, but there will be more like observation, not NCs. But of late, I see the auditors becoming very strong on first, before the external audit, Okay, they'll have the meeting with the management. Okay, and they'll raise a lot of question like what we have discussed on the complaints, what is the review meetings which are held, and also the competency of the employees, whether they are training the employees regularly, what is the infrastructure, what is the workflow, all that will be discussed. And also in some MNCs, like they discussed on the new clause that have come in, on new amendments that have come in on environmental safety. Okay, global warming, all that, net zero, less carbon, not to use papers. Yeah, you need to switch to EQMS, all that stuff. Okay, that is something on the management which we discussed yesterday. Management responsibilities, commitment on resources, and all this stuff. Of course, we discussed also on quality objectives. Every department should have an objective. Okay, both as a department, they should have an objective. As a person, you should also have your own individual objective for the organization. Okay, because individuals make an organization. It's not that one organization, in organization there will be a lot of individuals. When individuals come together with a common idea or with a common proposal to have uh, a product, a quality product which addresses the patient safety. Okay, that should be the flow how the organization work, not in the reverse manner or the reverse engineering that you have organization, you have people, people will become a big organization. Okay, and I'm talking about your personal responsibilities to have the quality objectives. Of course, organization goals are important, but when you fulfill your subjective, personalized objectives, that will reflect in organization goals. Like maybe I don't know how many of you have quality objectives. I know some of you in which departments you are working. It's not just for the quality or for production. There will be quality objectives even for the regulatory persons like who are working on the PMS or collecting the complaints on the COPPA, how good they are, efficiently they are working. Okay, how efficiently they are working on their regulatory files or submitting their regulatory files without any reviews or comments from the reviewers. Okay, suppose I submit a regulatory file and they say that I'll get 45 comments or 50 comments, which means that I'm not documenting the regulatory file as per the standards or the regulations. There is something wrong with me which I need to improve. Okay, there are some comments of 4 or 5, that's fine. But if you keep on getting the reviewer comments, okay, once you reach the technical reviewer on the third review, okay, like in EU MDR or in 510K, after say 510K, if you can't address the comments or the NCs or the reviews after 90 days, okay, mainly for account. You go for a traditional 510K, you can't address that in 90 days, no, then again you need to resubmit fresh application. Even in UMDR also, after the third review, if you have not closed your I mean the NCs or the comments, okay, again you need to resubmit, which means that you need to pay again another 30-40 lakhs, which will be burdensome for the company. Okay, you should not leave to that stage or extremes of the stage where your files will be rejected or you won't get the certification. So initially only you need to see that you comply with the standards and prepare your documents, whether it's QA or RA. Okay, and have a thorough review, see that you are following the regulations. You can be one step above the regulations also. Don't be 4-5 steps below the regulation. And this is the problem with the Indian system. We take it some of the things very casually. Okay. Once we start taking things casually, what happens is in the flow or in traveling with the organization, we take a lot of things okay, as it is very casually, and at the end, what happen is that they all accumulate. Okay, and they all accumulate and it turns into a very big problem that it will enter the black hole. I think you know what is black hole in the universe. Once you enter into the black hole, you don't know where you will be sucked off. Okay, or you will enter into the hell. Like if you take things casually, simple things if you keep taking casually. So I mean the first thing what you need to do is like, which I tell to everyone who work with me and who are working with me and whom I am training. First thing is like, say if you are in quality, of course you will have your quality policy, you'll have the second level document is the quality system procedure. First is quality manual, second is quality system procedure, the third is the most important, the SOPs. Okay, standard operating procedures. So if you have a standard operating procedure, okay, in your QC or in any department, first go through the uh, SOP very thoroughly. Okay, don't think that somebody has documented it, I am just following. Okay, maybe it is documented 3 years back, 4 years back, somebody reviewed, there is revision 4, revision 5, all this stuff will happen. But as an individual, as an employee of the organization, in that particular domain, in the particular department where you're working, you have to be very thorough with your SOP. Whether the SOP is correct, okay, or is it following the regulations and standards that are established. Keep your standards one side and look at your SOP, whether you're following the standards in the SOP. Because whatever in the SOP is there, that is the one you are going to document. Okay, don't document more what is not there in SOP. Okay, if you document more not there in SOP, it will become a problem. And don't document less which is there in SOP. You document what exactly is there in SOP. So SOP is such an important standard. We call it SOP, or you can call it a STP, standard test procedure. It has to be documented as per the SOP. So SOP becomes your sole central point. So you review the SOP, see how the SOP is structured, everything is up to the point. Okay. So after reading the SOP, you schedule your activities. Don't schedule your activities without reading the SOP or STP or whatever. I'm talking of the quality. I'll tell about the regulatory later. So you structure what SOP says. So I'm doing this work. For doing this work, I really have all the resources. Okay, do I have the manpower? Do I have the machinery or equipment? Okay, do I have the material? Do I have the formats and records? Okay, you need to plan and prepare after reading the SOP stepwise whether I have that, then you schedule it. Then you schedule it and start the work. Okay, after starting the work, of course, you will have a lot of reports coming in. There will be a lot of reports that you need to record. See whether the records are properly done. Okay, once you get the reports or records, don't just share with anybody or to your top persons or your heads. You review your records, whether the records are as per the SOP or as per the formats which are provided. Okay. And there is any overwriting or somebody entered it wrong. Okay. What I mean to say that you need to review and analyze your records. It's not that you share without any oversight on that. Then after you analyze your records, then you need to finalize your report. Report like say this many are NCs, this many are out of specific OOS or OOT, what we call out of out of tolerance or out of specifications. Okay, OOT is out of tolerance. Okay, which is basically for the equipment we use OOT, out of tolerance. For the products we say out of specification. So you need to see which are deviating OS or OOT, then you need to compile a report on that. So this is a systematic way how you need to do things in your QMS. It's not that morning you come and straight away start your work following. You review your SOP, go through it, look for the resources, whether you have everything ready. Okay, then schedule that activity. First, you need to schedule the activity based on your available resources. All the documents are there, records are there. Then you, after that, you need to analyze end of the day and prepare a report on that. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll ask, yeah, Akanksha, how you do it in your company? I think Akanksha is driving or she's somewhere. There's some network issue, I understand. She has written in the chat. Okay, we'll ask Madhusri, how you'll do it in your organization?
So basically, we'll collect from the global team. So since we are importer,
Yeah.
data will be collected by the global team. What we receive for the rest of the world, if it is not registered in India,
Okay.
not yet registered in India, will basically collect for 5 years. And after submitting, if you are getting any query on that, we'll again reach out to the global team exactly what is our requirement based on regulatory expectations. So that is how.
Yeah, I know, like you are yourself and Somant,
Somnath.
Somnath, sorry. Where is Somnath?
Sir, yeah, I'm here. So basically, it's Madhu's point. Yeah, and if it is a requirements, we will go through the. If you are doing one submission in India, it is for importing. We will do a MD14 submission. There is a list of requirements for us to submit. We will collect. We will see if all the requirements are available or not. We will check on the requirements and we will collect the data as per the requirements and we will document as per our India medical device format. For example, device master file and power of attorney, everything having a format. We will structure
Yeah,
it
yeah,
and we
yeah,
will provide it.
understood. Yeah, because your organization is there in multiple countries.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean that there is a different way of doing yeah, the activities for the RA, which I'll discuss later, but for quality, because you guys, I think Madhu and Somant and few others are there in regulatory. Somant, you can mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like some of you are there in regulatory, some of you there in quality. I know how, what is the streamline or what is the stream, how the regulatory has to work. That I'll discuss when I come to the regulatory. As I told now, the next clause which I'll be discussing, I mean, not today. Next week is very, very important. Next week, I think it's on 28th or 29th. On the clause side, okay, then the other two are also very important. Clause 8 is very important. I said it links to every process what you do, whether clause 8 links to your design. Okay, clause is linked to your production, clause is linked to your regulatory quad, clause 8 links to something like every clause that is there in the QMS is linked to clause 8. Okay, it's basically gives a lot of feedback or inputs to other clause where you can have an improvement in your QMS system. That's what I said. It talks about internal audits, improvement, complaint handling, customer feedback, okay, CAPA, other things, and regulatory reporting. Whether what are the complaints which you need to report to the regulatory bodies? Do you report all the complaints to the regulatory bodies, or you report only a few? Okay, there should be a protocol for that. In how many days you will report, whether you will report with CAPA or without CAPA. Okay, guys, what I'm telling you is this has become very, very mandatory in all countries, that all events, whether it's adverse events, serious adverse events, how you structure it, how you divide it, has to be reported to the country specific regulatory body. Okay, in India now, they have made it a more online system of submitting. Okay, to the CDSCO medical device department. Okay, if you are in US, you need to do that to, I mean, if the complaint in US through MODE, you need to address it. I'll talk of this, that's MAUDE. And Europe, you need to do this through Udemy. That also I'll discuss. Okay, that's a European medical device database, which has come very new. And in other countries also it's mandatory. Like if you see in Brazil, or if you look into Australia, the TGA or NVISA, or in Health Canada, okay, reporting system is mandatory. And the other thing which I'll be discussing is after clause 8. Okay, these are some of the things which I mentioned. Will stress on that at least for 1-2 sessions. The other is on the risk management. I am telling you guys, risk management has become, you have seen, like, risk management is linked to every clause again. Okay, whether it's quality or regulatory. Of course, I shared you QARA, quality risk management. I don't know how many of you seen. QMS also has a risk management document. For each clause, for each clause or each subclause, okay, you need to write what is the hazard, harm, hazardous situation, what is the risk, okay, and at the end, how you are mitigating the risk or risk control measures. After mitigating the risk or controlling the risk, okay, there will be a lot of things how you can control the risk. Well, the risk is totally mitigated, or there is like zero risk, or is there still residual risk? This is applicable for the QMS, and it's also applicable for the regulatory, and will follow the same format. Okay, that is 14971 2019. Okay, for the regulatory and the quality, for the product and for the process of the system. Okay, this I'll be covering. And the most important thing, the third important thing, which of course I like all these three on the clause 8, 14971 on the risk, and also like the ISO 10993. For some organizations, it's not applicable because I mean, they think that it is not applicable because it is not coming in contact with the body. Okay, but with the revised clause, what I have shared, I mean, the revised standard on biological evaluation 10993 2025, which came 3-4 days back. Because the standard has been in public domain 3-4 days back. There are a lot of revisions that have happened. Okay, basically 8 major changes, including the softwares or SOMED or medical devices used in software. Then there is a need to conduct some of the biocompatibility studies. Okay, if not biocompatible, they need to also look at some of the environmental, okay, electrical, electromagnetic testing and other things. So that we will discuss. So the next sessions will be very, very, very important and very logical. Okay, not so dry as 13485. But sorry to use that word dry, but it's important that you feel so connected with those topics. So I mean, I'll run to clause 6. We already discussed about
Sir,
clause.
Akansha had a question on chat box.
Yeah, IVDs also it's applicable. Yeah, Akanksha, for IVDs also it's applicable 10993. I'll discuss on IVDs. See, IVDs also include not only, I mean, the ones which you are referring to. Okay, the spectral imaging or the microscopes. Those Sumant and Madhusri also work on medical equipment, on the robotic surgeries and other things. I know their products very well or the devices very well. For them also there will be few things which you need to do. It's not that, again I'm telling, it's not the say something like there are 18 tests in biological evaluation. It is not mandatory that you need to do all 18 tests to prove the safety of the device. Okay, based on your device intended use. Okay, yesterday I told to some of you, based on the contact, okay, whether it is in direct contact with the blood or it's only indirectly in contact with skin or mucosal tissue, or is it contact with the orifice of the body, or it's in direct contact with the blood. Okay, that is one. And the second important point which we look in 10993 is the duration of contact. How long it is in contact with the body. So in this, it is categorized into 3. Below 24 hours is called transient. So for that, you need to do couple of tests, not all 18 series. And the second category is between 24 to 1 month. Okay, 30 days. It is called prolonged. So for that, there will be more tests which you need to do than the transient. And there will be something like which are in contact with more than 30 days. So those which are in more than 30 days are called permanent. Okay, you have transient, prolonged, and permanent. Permanent are something like implants like the heart valves, coronary stent, orthopedic implants. Okay, they have a high risk because they are a permanent implant. So you need to do a lot of, mostly I think you need to do all 18 tests. 18 tests that are there in 10993. Something like there will be, say, where Somant and Madhusri are working, there will be some equipment, robotic surgery or stitching or patching, like something which may be in contact with blood during surgery. Okay, but what is the duration of contact? Whether it will be less than 24 hours or it will be 30 days. I don't think it will be 30 days. It will be less than 24 hours. But when you say less than 24 hours, this I'll discuss separately. The new standard says if it is reused, okay, how long it will be in contact. That is what the new clause says. You need to look at the cumulative contact time, not one-time contact. What will be the total cumulative contact time of your device, okay, with the human body, whether it's with skin or mucosa or the orifice or with the blood? What is the duration? Not one-time duration. What is the total cumulative duration? Suppose you are using a device, okay, like some devices repeatedly, okay, I use one device for 1 hour today, and tomorrow I use the same device for 2 hours. Okay, and I keep using the device for next 30 days. So my contact time is not 1 hour. Okay, it's total cumulative time. Like I'm using it for 1 month, 1 hour per day. So my cumulative time will become 30 hours. So those switch devices which are in transient less than 24 hours now become prolonged, because it is coming to cumulative contact time is coming to 30 hours. Are you getting my point? It's more than 24 hours, that is 30 hours. So you need to look at the cumulative contact time. That is one of the major change. I'll tell you all the major 8 changes when we discuss on 10993. Okay. All even Akanksha, even all the IVDs also come in, but the test could vary. Okay. There will be some tests which like the equipment or IVDs where you need to do a lot of characterization and leachables. What are the leachables in your metals? Okay, if you are using stainless steel or some alloys, what are the elements, metals that can leach from you? As I said yesterday, there will be a lot of, Arulmati said, heavy metal toxicity, like nickel or cobalt. Okay, you need to study about leachables, both in polar, non-polar solvents. Okay, I'll tell you all the procedures, like how it is applied in IVDs, how it is applied in devices which come under 745, medical devices 746, and also drug device combinations. Okay, implants. Anybody has any question, or should I move to clause 6? Clause 6 is very simple. We can just run over it. Maybe in 15-20 minutes I can complete. Okay, don't worry about this. 10993 biological evaluation risk management is applicable for even IVDs equipment. Actually, it's more applicable for IVDs and medical equipment. Okay, risk management, it's equally applicable to others, but how you link it to the how you link it to the regulations, like you have, essential principle or GSRP, general safety requirements, or earlier it is called essential requirements, and how you link it to clinicals, how you link it to clinical, biocompatibility, and end of the day, all this accumulate and it will become your IFU. Okay, if you have IFU in your hand, or somebody gives me an IFU, I can tell you the total history of your device. Okay, spending just 2-3 hours on that IFU. So now
Sir,
we'll
I had a question. How long, means how frequent we should do a supplier audit on materials?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. That will come in clause 7. I'll
Oh,
tell
okay.
you, because the material is again divided into what is critical. Okay, high risk material or critical material, major, minor, based on the criticality of the material and the risk. Again, here also in the materials, what is the risk of that material, risk posed to that material when it becomes a product? Okay, what is the risk of that material to the patient? Okay, based on that, you'll have, like, you have critical suppliers. Okay, something like you'll have some suppliers who supply labels and other stuff, printers, other packaging, something. In that also the materials, how critical are the materials, okay, for your product or in the manufacturing. If I take some of the materials which I get from other vendor suppliers, they may not be so critical, like some cartoons or some label, some paperwork, some artwork. Okay, I know like label is important, IFA is important, but there will be some other things which are more important pertain to the product. Okay, I'll tell you like who are the critical suppliers, what are the critical materials, how we need to audit. Okay, that's called supplier verification or supplier audit. I'll tell it in clause 7. Okay.
Okay, sir.
See, I have this problem of brain fog. Many of you know brain fog.
We just forgot where we left and continue.
Brain fog is
Nothing
when you
about it.
no, it's not related to old age. It's related to sleep disorders, or when you don't sleep properly, you'll have that brain fog. But mainly in this generation, when you keep switching tasks from one task to other tasks, okay, you forget what you are telling previously. Okay, then you'll forget what to tell next or continue with what. Because this is because of multitasking, what we keep on switching our tasks every hour or every half an hour, every hour. We do one task 1 hour and we switch to other tasks. We keep on switching tasks in 8 hours. I'm talking during our work. So when we keep on switching the tasks, okay, every hour, no, you'll have this brain fog, like you forget like what I have done before and what I am doing now and what I have to do. This is a frequent, of course, I do agree it happens with old age. Second, it happens because of insomnia or lack of sleep. And importantly, I was reading this article on why it happens. When you keep on switching the tasks, it happens. Okay, see, ISO, this clause is very simple. It's basically on resource management, and we discussed yesterday, like resource management is the responsibility of whose responsibility is the resource management. Okay, it is the top management responsibility that they need to look at what the resources the organization needs. And I already told you what are the resources we need basically for the organization. Okay, importantly, you need a very good manpower, personnel, competent, trained, qualified. I'll tell you all of this, whether the qualification is important, experience is important, training is important. Of all this, which one which one should be taken as priority? And then you need infrastructure. Okay, for infrastructure, you need maintenance. Okay, maintenance of the infrastructure, what we call control and maintenance or contamination control, maintenance, all that stuff. Okay, you need material, machine, manpower, all this. Okay, these are the resource managements which will come in. Okay, and this has to be provided by the top management on the request of the heads of the department as required. Okay, and again I am telling you, see, every clause which I am telling you, okay, the first thing is that you need to document. If you need manpower, don't tell to your management or your HOD that on phone call or verbally that I need manpower. Everything has to be documented. Okay, and the document has to be, whatever you document has to be recorded. I mean, in the form of a record, you need to keep it for the sake of the auditors, because they'll ask you, oh, what is your organization chart, what is the manpower, what is the manpower you required, how you raise the query, whether you have posted it in newspaper or in LinkedIn, or what is the way you approach in recruiting your manpower. All these things will be asked, and there are a lot of other things which will come on how you assess the competency of your manpower, whether it's based on education, training, experience, or a lot of things will come in. Okay. So we come to this. First is the provision of resources. Okay, I have mentioned here two things. The subclause is provision of resources and the core concept. And what is the practical approach? Okay, and what is the auditable evidence? Again, I am saying auditable evidence is something that has to be an objective evidence which has to be documented. That's why I told you clause 4.2.4. Okay, control of documents, 4.2.5, control of records is very, very important. These two clause 4.2.4, 4.25.5 comes in every section or every clause. Okay, it's not exclusively for left to clause 4. Okay, 4.2.4, and I told you, like, you'll have major NCs, not major, more NCs in these two clause only. So you need to document this. So when you document this, the auditor will have the evidence. We are providing the evidence. I will tell you some examples. So in this, what is the core concept of this? The top management must determine, okay, provide the resources needed to implement and maintain the QMS. Okay, to maintain the QMS, you need some resources like manpower or machinery or some infrastructure. Okay, and why they need to do it? To meet the regulatory and customer requirements. Okay, you need to do that because when there is inspections, okay, not just for inspections or the audits, you need to do it for the sake of the patient. Okay, for the patient safety, you need to provide some resources to produce a quality product that won't cause any harm to the patient. Okay, and performs well. That is what we talk. End of the day is the patient safety. And I'll tell you a big story why UUMDR came. Okay, earlier it was MDD, Medical Device Directive in Europe. Okay, UUMDR came in 2017, but it was practically came into force in 2021 because of COVID and other things. In 2021 also it didn't become effective. It became more effective in 2024 and 25. Still, there are some for legacy devices. Legacy devices are the devices which already have the CE marking under MDD. They can still export the products. I'll talk of this when I discuss on EUMDR. So if you don't have this problem with the documentation and traceability, that was the big issue with the European Union, that they didn't have the traceability issues of the complaint devices. Mainly there are two issues that happen. One is on the breast implants and the second is on the orthopedic implants, which cause a lot of deaths and severe morbidity. Came from different countries, but they are not able to trace it. Which country it came from? Okay, lack of traceability of the product. Okay, and then they have reviewed all their old standards and they now came out with EUMDR, which is more effective. Okay, mainly on the clinical safety and more on the traceability. Okay, traceability, for traceability, they have brought one online software that's Udamate, European database for medical devices. And there are a lot of changes that happen, we'll discuss that. Okay, here we need to meet the regulatory and customer requirements. Okay. And for that you need resources. It's not that you do under some hut or some under in a park or under the tree and produce quality devices. Okay, you need some resources, some management, trained manpower, infrastructure, all this. Okay, needs assessment. Periodically review organization needs, often as a part of management review. Basically, the resource needs will be discussed during the management review meetings that just now we appraised that. But periodically, if it is not in MRM, management review, you can discuss them as required. Okay, it's not that you need to wait for 6 months for the management review to happen and then disclose it. Okay, you can bring it as required. Suppose you need some manpower, equipment for something or calibrations, whatever it is. Okay. But it is basically reflected in management review meetings for the auditable evidence. If it is not there in management review meetings, you can document whenever it is required and keep it in your records. Okay, and one is on the, as I say, resource management as such has to come from the organization employees, and the top management has to oversee. Okay, and why they need to oversee resource management? Because you need to comply with the regulatory standards, a customer requires to deliver a quality product for the patient safety. The second is capacity planning. Suppose, okay, you relate resource allocation to production demand and QMS workload. Okay, we have too many, too many countries that you are going to quarter. Okay, because you have registered your product in a lot of countries. Okay, through regulatory documentation, then your capacity will increase, then there will be more workload that happens. Okay, when there is more devices that come out from your organization, okay, obviously there will be more complaints. When there are more complaints, then you will have a CAPA. And for all this, okay, you need to do some internal audits. For that, you need manpower. So as there is a capacity building that happens and you become a global company, okay, and your product services or product usage increases, it is quite evident that you will have more complaints if you are not taking proper customer feedback. I said customer feedback is a very proactive approach to see that, okay, how your product is performing and have a trend analysis. What are the common issues or problems with the customer feedback? See, collecting customer feedback is not necessary. You need to do an very microscopic analysis of the customer feedbacks so that you'll have less complaints. If you address the customer feedback, that is a proactive approach, the reaction will be less, that is the complaints will be very less. So some companies just take the customer feedbacks just audit purpose and they keep them in the files in the racks. But I'll tell you how to analyze the customer feedbacks and come out with an conclusion that these are some of the things, issues that can later may become as complaints. Okay, and for that you need to do capacity building, whether it's in QMS or quality or in the regulatory. When you do a PMS like post-marketing surveillance in the form of registries, customer feedbacks, okay, or you you work out with certain institute or hospitals, okay, in the form of, as I said, no, you can conduct an what you call a registry, which could be a comparative or non-inferior or equivalent registries. Though your market is in product, better to have lot of clinical data coming in, what we call it as clinical evidence. Okay, even your complaint will become a clinical evidence. You should have a trend analysis, like you should compare your products with your competitor products to see whether they are also getting complaints similar to us or similar to our device. Okay, like Intuitive have some devices, they should compare with other competitors, like Medtronic is one of their big competitor. Whether they are also having the same complaints or they are having different complaints. or I am having more complaints and different complaints. So that is what is called, I'll tell you, it's called SOTA also, but SOTA is something different. But trend of market analysis on the complaints you need to see. So when you enlarge your scope, okay, moving into other regulatory fields, other countries, obviously there will be complaints. The QMS workload will increase, the production or the quality, all this workload will increase. Your equipment, need more equipment, need more manpower. So this has to be brought into what we call it as capacity plan document, which is a high level document. See, suppose I am planning to enter into Europe or Brazil next 2 years. So what I have to do, I have to prepare my regulatory documents, get certifications, and parallelly I need to have more RA people or QA people for doing this capacity building. So I need to have a planned document. Okay, which I'll tell you when I come to RA what planning is. Okay, for everything you need to have a plan. Don't do anything even in your personal life without a plan. Okay, similarly in QMS or in the regulatory also, suppose you are doing a biological evaluation, you should have a biological evaluation plan. Okay, risk management plan or usability engineering plan. For anything, there should be a plan and protocol or a procedure to conduct. Without plan and procedure, don't do anything. Okay, it will become a big nuisance. So this is called capacity plan document. Like how I'm planning this in future next 1 year. It can be divided into short term, mid term, and long term. Based on that, you should do the capacity building. Okay. And I said, like on resources, the first comes is the human resource. Okay. The core concept is personal performing work affecting product quality must be competent based on education, training skills, and experience. Okay, these three, education or what you call qualifications, training, skills, experience, it is more pertinent to some departments. Okay, where you need somewhere you need some skilled people, somewhere you need more qualified people, somewhere you need more experienced or trained people. Okay, it depends upon the department. So the HR or who is interviewing you should understand what the department necessities are, where you need educated, qualified, or skilled people or experienced people. Okay, that depends upon the job description or the work objectives. Okay, in the manpower, I know that this is the human resources is very important, and there will be a lot of audit questions on this, and you need to do a lot of documentation. Basically, it is done by HR and the department concerned with the manpower. They need to do all this documentation. Okay, define. I mean, first is the general one, 6.21, which is first you need to define competency. This is more practical approach. I am not talking theoretically, like what is written. ISO talks a lot of things. It gives 2 pages on 6.2.1, but the core content is this. You need to do a very practical approach. First, you need to define competence. Establish required competency levels in job description for roles affecting quality. Okay, it could be quality or end of the day, it also ends up in regulatory. So as I said, whether core competency, what you want, whether you want experienced people, trained people, or you want skilled people, or you want more qualified people. Okay, that is what we define the competency of it. Whether you require a PhD guy or a guy who is very much skilled in, say, something on laser welding or on some specialized AI/ML concepts on some equipment or summit related, or you require somebody who does just documentation work okay, or keeps writing the documents or the records. I mean, it based on the, you need to define the competencies that in the job description and what are the roles. Of course, once they come in, there will be some training that has to be done based on, there'll be a separate training record for each and employee. I'm telling you guys, okay. Training records are mandatorily audited, okay, during the audit session. Every employee should have total set of, okay, where their CVs, their educational qualifications, okay, their training manual, whether you attended some training, taken some training, special skills, all that, okay, and what is your job objectives, quality objectives. So every employee will have one file defining all the, from his qualification to all that what I have explained, your certifications, your training, what you are good at and what you are not. Okay. So the auditable evidence is the job description, whether you're given in LinkedIn, it has to be documented, or off late nobody is going with newspaper ads or through some portals, wherever you do, that has to be documented. And training matrix. Okay, once that you recruit an employee, it's not that he directly goes to the machine or they start directly writing the regulatory files. He need to undergo a lot of training. Okay, though he may be the CEO of the company, or though he may be so senior with 10 years experience or 20 years experience, you need to understand about the QMS of the organization, how the workflow is, okay, how the system works here, okay, because from companies to companies, the QMS system or the work methodology differs. It's not like every company follows the same. Of course, skeletally it will be the same, okay, but when you dive deep, there will be a lot of ifs and buts, like, okay, the system could be better or system could be bad than what he experienced, but he should have an understanding. And also you need some training on your products, how, because you may come from other domain of different products. Okay, so this is an auditable one, training file and matrix, which I'll explain. Okay, these examples you can study on where the non-compliance can be. So this is one 6.2.2. So I'm talking of clause 6. Remember this 6.1, clause 6 is on resource manager, 6.1 is on provision of resources, 6.2 on human resources, 6.2.1 is very general, but here comes the real thing. Okay, 6.2.2, the competency, awareness and training. Okay, every employee, whether he is a regulatory guy, he is a marketing guy, he is from finance, or is quality, microbiology, even the shop floor or the shop floor or the maintenance guys should have an understanding on QMS. Okay, you may think like it's just enough for only the top people to know about the QMS or the quality policies or quality of this. That is absolutely wrong. Okay, even the shop floor employee, even sometimes the housekeeping personnel also, okay, who clean the organization, like it could be clean rooms or non-clean rooms, they should be made aware of that, how to enter the clean rooms, how to clean it, what are the disinfectants to be used. So they need to understand. See, the important thing here is why everybody should know about the QMS. Can somebody tell me why everybody, from the house cleaning to the shop floor to the mid-level to the heads, to the CEO, to the marketing, to the finance. Why everybody should know about the QMS, quality management system of the organization.
Because everyone contribute in the quality of the product.
Now, can you repeat?
Because everyone contribute in the quality of the product at the last of the things.
Yeah, that's good. Good one. Yeah,
And
everybody has to contribute to
everybody,
the QMS.
that is everybody's responsibility to follow with all the set of things, sir, and to give the best result out of it.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. And I'll ask you, I mean, since you have said best results, Madhusri, what is the
Again,
best results when you follow the QMS?
Quality of the product, it should be followed with the quality, safety, efficacy, everything should be in line, sir. That is what.
again,
Ah,
everything goes smooth with the processes. That's the need. That's why we implement the QMS.
that's right. Yeah, what Madhusri said is she is very shocked today. She said you are very new to this, but she's absolutely right. Like say when even a shop floor guy or even an housekeeping guy should understand what Vaibhav has told. He understand the system of the process. Okay, first they need to understand what this company is. It's a medical device company. It is a regulated company. It has some standards. And what Madhu has said is, at the end of the day, all of them contribute, okay, for the best result, that is providing a quality product that has good safety and performance. And everybody has a stake in this. Okay, not the head of the QA or not the head of the RA. Okay, everybody has a stake in this. And the most important thing is like why we need to train them is even say top people, we can train them and make them understand easily. But for people who are in shop floor, I mean, I should not use some words, but I mean like who do some very routine manual works of, I'm not using that word, it's better not to use. But why they need, even the housekeeping, why we need to make them understand is this is a medical device organization. We are producing devices, medical devices used in patients. Okay. Maybe in life saving, there will be some life saving devices. Okay. Some to treat some morbidities. Okay. We need to make them enlighten that this is a device manufacturing company, and you should also explain to them these are our devices. And also it's better how everybody should know what the devices are. When I say everybody, even the shop floor people, even the housekeeping, and why it is important. Okay, when they have this conscious that okay, we are doing a very, very important product, not something like in a cement factory or in some bakery. Okay, or something like doing it in Swagat or Amazon or all these online things. But we are doing it for a company. Of course, Amazon does a brilliant work, I know it. So once I understand that, okay, this is for the patient, obviously they'll have that subconscious mind that we need to do this work. So training is very, very important for all the employees, basically the QMS training. Okay. And the second training is regarding the department wise. Okay. In which department they are going, the head of the department should train them. Okay. And there is actually, I've written it somewhere, employee training. Once you train them, that is not enough. After training, what you need to do? See, is training enough to assess the competency of the employee? We should
We need to check their
yeah, you need to check it.
examination or something.
Yeah, you need to check it whether through some examination or through some practical means, whether he understood your training. Okay, sometimes he has to be left with that particular work or particular task under the purview of the known or the head of the head of that department, whether he is doing it properly, and there will be some examinations conducted. If he is not doing, he has to be retrained. Okay, or you need to get back into a lower position. So training is very important, of course, and assessing the competency of the training is important. So during the audit, they not only ask your training records of the employees, but they'll ask you how you assess that he understood what you have trained. Okay, have you conducted some examination? Have you seen him performing the task? Okay, you need to assess it, grade him. Then after he, passes that training module, then you need to keep him on the work. Okay, under some supervision. When he performs well, then he has to be left alone. Okay, this is a sequence. First, of course, QMS is very important. All employees should know QMS. The second is the department work. Okay, and the third category is in the department you'll have a very specific work. Whether doing a microbiology work or working in the clean room or just doing the documentation in the production, doing some assembly, in that special skills, okay, you need to train them. How to enter, how to be in the clean room, tell the classification of clean rooms, how to wear the clean room governing, all that stuff. What activities should happen, okay? And the other most important thing is there will be some where you need specialized skills, okay? Either by qualification they will have it, or you need to train them if you find them useful, okay? That this, if the employee seems to be good, then you can train him on some special skills, like there will be some equipment where you need specialized skills, or some jobs or functions you need specialized skills. Okay, mainly when you come to R&D, you need some special skills to handle the R&D job, how to fast track the R&D work, what we call rapid prototyping or 3D printing, how to do the regulatory files, how to comply with the regulations during design and development only. Okay, how to use the lab notebooks. Okay, how to do the design transfer. This few people will have the skills, and few people have skills on working on a very specialized equipment. Okay, like it could be a manufacturing equipment, like I've seen extrusion equipments of high precision accuracy, like they can extrude 4-5 lumens at a time, not one lumen. Okay, 4-5 lumens, triple lumen, or 4 lumens, 5 lumens extrusion. You need specialized skills, and some skills like the microbiology, or people who are in biotechnology, they have some skills for working in the organizations. And people with AI ML, they have some special skills, or those who are biomedical engineers from understanding the software on the SOMED on the instruments. So these are very specialized skilled people where you can train them. Okay, mainly since last 2-3 years, I'm really understanding on the UMDR 2017-746, that is basically IVDs and medical equipment or software as medical devices. It's very different from how you validate that, how you document it, and the standards of that are very different. Okay, because I have some clients who do this work. So you need special skills for that. So you need to assess the competency of them, training them. So the auditable evidence is employee interview, training records. Okay, all this will come. qualification process for specialized process like say welding, sterilization, define a formal qualification and requalification schedule. Okay, there are some companies who offer this education also to the employees. On long term, if they feel it is very useful, the organization only pays for the qualification or further training or sends them abroad for specialized trainings. Okay, these are the things that the management will do to increase the competency of the employees. So these are some of the things, but again, I'm coming back to the same thing. Everything has to be documented. Okay. I mean, it has to be documented, established, or it has to be established, documented, and maintained. Okay, I'll tell you how long you maintain the records. Okay, it is for 5 years or 10 years, or should I keep it in cloud or in some data data centers to preserve it lifelong? And I'll tell you also when I come to AML, I'll talk on cyber security, mainly for some of the medical equipment or some of the data centers where storage of data can be leaked, how to have the cyber security and all that stuff. And there'll be something on patient we call patient health record security, what we call HIPAA, on securing the patient safety records, health records, sorry, because it has not been disclosed. Okay, then coming to the infrastructure, of course, without infrastructure, there is no need of manpower because you can't build everything in air. You need to have manufacture infrastructure, provide and maintain the infrastructure needed to achieve conformity to product requirements. So these are physical resources. I'll tell you what is conformity. What is conformity? Because you hear this word, I mean, most of you will hear, mainly in the regulatory, will hear the word. Okay, letter of conformity or conformity document. First, provide the conformity document. Conformity is like you need to mention what are the standards which you are in compliance with, regulatory and quality standards, and what are the tests which you have performed for the product. Okay, and each test will have a standard. It's not that you do tests as you like in colleges. When you're in colleges or when actually, I mean, I used to do like we used to perform. Of course, we used to follow some pharmacopoeia, but we need to skip a lot of things and do. But in the organization, when you are doing such a very important life-saving medical devices or devices that are talking about patients' safety, definitely there will be standards for everything. Okay, for every test there will be standard. Okay, I'll tell you there is no standard what to do. Okay, so you need to mention the standards, what you are using for the test, what are the specifications of your, and what is the conformity or the compliance which you are having with that standard. Suppose if you have, say, medical devices, only medical devices, there will be another category medical device under medical agency, which is drug device combination. Now you have software as medical devices. Okay, software in medical devices. Okay, a lot of categories are there. There are a lot of standards. Some standards are very common. Some are very specialized to equipments. Like say softwares or SOMAD has more IEC standards. Okay, drug device has more ISO and pharmacopoeial standards. Most of them you see like there will be more ISO standards, but equipment you'll see more IEC standards. Okay, that has to be mentioned in the product conformity. Okay. Infrastructure, you need to provide all those what is needed. It needs a lot of capital when you are a startup. Okay. Maintenance management, like You may build an infrastructure, but it has to have a maintenance management. You need to have a maintenance program. So the document auditable is preventive maintenance, which is very, very important for the maintenance department. How you have preventive maintenance for your, why you need preventive maintenance? Okay, preventive maintenance is something which you foresee that, okay, there could be some problem with the machine. Okay, after a due course of time or running few cycles. Okay, then you should have a preventive maintenance ready with the spares or parts, something like the HVAC, you should have preventive maintenance, your calibrations, your spares, works, all this something, basically the maintenance department will have this, okay, what they call preventive maintenance record for each and every equipment and for total infrastructure. Okay, like I said, the HVAC system, power, buildings, all these tasks. Okay, there will be every day, day in, day out maintenance programs, but there will be also preventive maintenance. Okay, then you should have an equipment control, ensure production, measurement, monitoring equipment, including software, is uniquely identified and maintained. This you see in commonly. Every software, every equipment will have a label. Okay, label includes the name of the machine, when it is installed, when it is validated or calibrated. Okay, of course, it will also have a record where it is located. When the location is changed, then you need to change with the change control, you need to say that it is relocated. And when it has to be calibrated, all that stuff will be there on the equipment. Okay, that is called equipment control. IT and software, I said, this is one which of late has become very, very important on addressing your softwares, what are there. I'm not talking about software equipment or SOMED. The software regularly used in your organization for design purpose, okay, or the EQMS software, or some software where you use to calculate calculate some of the data analysis, like the statistical software. All this, okay, had to be provided, because I told of late nothing is done manually. Okay, of course, I mean, even statistics, nobody does it manually. I mean, it's long back when I'm studying, I used to do it on statistics on a paper, looking at the log books and all that. But of late, you have all software to calculate the sample sizes. You have how to do the power of the study or the confidence intervals, what we call CI, probability, level of significance. For everything, we are using software, statistics, even for your production, even for your biometric system as a software. Or some of the HVAC in clean rooms have the monitoring software. So this all has to be provided. Okay, these are all called IT validation records. See, when I talk about software, very serious thing is like you should have the original software, not the pirated one. Even if you are using Windows, okay, Windows 2000 or the new version of Windows. Of course, you get the pirated version, but if you use the pirated versions and auditor notice that you have not purchased it. This happened to me in one of the company where when I was working, that only we purchased, I mean, Windows for one system, and we used it for all our systems. And some of the system we used pirated version. Okay, it became a big issue. Okay, and it has gone to the a level where at a very high level that, I mean, I don't want to discuss it, gone to a high level that it's there in newspapers that people are using in companies, in industries like medical devices, all pirated things. So it will become a major risk. Okay, mainly on the IT validation report. Okay, there are EQMS, ERP, you can't get the pirated ones for ERP. ERP is an enterprise record. Sorry, enterprise resource system. and EQMS, MES. Of late, we have a lot of clinical software. Okay. In hospitals, they use, even in industries, we use. Actually, I developed a software for customer feedback. It's just an app-based software. You can download the app and customize software for your devices. So once you share the app, you'll get a lot of customer feedbacks to the app. Some do it through Google Forms and all that stuff, but everything has to be validated, guys. Okay, I'll tell you software validation when I come to software equipment summit. That's on IEC 62304, the life cycle and validation, cybersecurity, and other things. And the fourth is, okay, you have personal, you have machinery, you have infrastructure. But what you need to do is in 6.4, it mentions what should be the work environment and contamination control. Again, it depends upon the scope of your organization, whether doing the sterile or non-sterile, whether you're manufacturing very highly, what we call high-end equipments with narrow tolerances, less bioburden, less particle count, or zero particle count, zero bioburden, endotoxins, all this coming. Okay, based on your company scope, like what you are manufacturing. Okay, that defines your work environment. Manage the environment to ensure product requirements are met and prevent cross contamination. I told you the other day, it's always when you start a new company, startup, the standard gold rule is that the movement of the material should be unidirectional. Okay. Like from your stores, purchase stores, it has to go into production to QC. Okay, there could be a lot of other departments, but production, like you have a lot of production department. Then at the end, it has to go to sterilization. I think if sterilization is the end step, whether it's ETO or gamma radiation or anything. Okay. And from sterilization, it has to go to the purchase stores. So there should be unidirectional. If the flow is, bidirectional or multidirectional, there will be a lot of cross contamination of the products or product mix up. Where you have compliant and non-compliant product combined. Okay. And the practical approach is environmental monitoring. Okay, this is basically for most of the devices which have effect on temperature and humidity. Okay, there are a lot of companies where the devices will discuss on when it comes to storage or preservation of the how they affect humidity and temperature affects what you call aging of the devices. Aging is, there is a formula called Arrhenius theory, how you calculate the aging based on temperature and humidity. That's where you do the stability studies to fix the shelf life of the device. Okay. How you fix the expiry date or shelf life of the device? Okay. There are some formulas
by doing accelerated shelf life study.
Yeah, initially for quick launching of your product, you can do accelerated stability. Okay, that I'll tell you, like at accelerated temperatures and humidity condition, with a short time, you can do the studies. Okay, that's like exposing the devices to a lot of stress of temperature and humidity within a short time and see whether there is any effect. But after that, you need to do real-time stability. Real-time stability is till the expiry date of the devices. Like if your device is 3 years or 5 years, you continuously need to monitor the device for 5 years and see what is the effect. Is there a significant change in the safety, performance, or functional aspects, physical aspects of the device? Okay, based on that, you'll fix the shelf life. Of course, there are different ways to fix the shelf life. Okay, some say that, okay, I have a type of pouch. that restrict the entry of the microbes packed in TAVAC process. Okay, there will be some material which are basically plastics. Okay, which can have temperature, which the functions, performance, safety changes with temperatures. Humidity. There will be some devices which will have drugs or the drug device combination. Okay, this will have very less shelf life. There will be some medical equipment which are prone onto wear and tear on repeated uses. Okay, you need to do a servicing section or service maintenance by removing the wear and tear parts. Okay, but at least you need to tell after how many cycles it will work and you need to replace it. That's we call self-reference. Okay, you need to have all monitoring records. Of course, it's very, very important for clean rooms to have this temperature and humidity monitoring. Okay, even for the purchase, of course, wherever it is important in all departments, including production or stores. Okay, or in the finished goods department and all that. But we need to maintain, again, I'm telling you should have documents, okay, records for everything. For every clause, the documents and records are very, very important. Without that, you will not have any evidence to show. Okay, storage, warehouse, all this stuff. And health and safety, like the human factors also influence that we call, that is, I think we have separate section on how mainly the clean rooms, like how the human factors can affect the safety and quality, mainly in the bioburden, mainly the environmental control, how you are controlling the bioburden or microorganisms in your clean rooms and also the particulate matter. Okay, what are your HVAC cycles? Okay, there will be different HVAC systems for class 100, class 1000, class 10,000, for class 1 lakh or class 10 lakh. They have a different designation like class A, B, C, D. Okay, in the US system they use it. Here we call class 1000 or class 100. So health checkup is very mandatory for every employee. Okay, that's why we do, and they have to be recorded. If there is any contagious diseases, immediately it has to be reported. And not only health checkup, there will be some where you will also do eye checkup for those people who are regularly working under microscopes. Okay, and also, of course, I know a lot of instances where some have color blindness, where it is important you need to differentiate the colors. These tests are done. Okay, and again, this has to be recorded. Okay, then is the contamination control. So this is what I'm talking on the bioburden, because when there is a heavy bioburden, I think I told you earlier also, see, humans carry a lot of particulate matter. Okay, I think I read somewhere a person entering into a clean room sheds almost like per day 1 lakh particulate matter, whether it's from your hair or from your skin, shedding of the skin cells, okay, epidermal cells, all that. Basically, it's a movement of, in the clean rooms, you should restrict maximum as possible the material and man movement. Okay, there will be a lot of contamination that happens to material movement, incoming, outgoing material, men movement acts when they enter it. Of course, we take a lot of precautions, but still you need, there will be a lot of things, mainly on the particulate matter and also on the microbial contamination. So you should have a monitoring system on this. How much is the microbial count, whether you do a settle plate method, or there are 2-3 methods how you measure the microbial count. On air sampling method is one which is more realistic and true. One is the settle plate method, just to keep a better plate with agar and count the colonies. after keeping it in the incubator. And also you need to do the particulate count. Okay. Per a square area, how many particles are there? So this periodic maintenance of this, okay, or changing the HVAC filters is one. If there is too much particulate count, if there is too much bioburden, what will do? The microbial count is more, what you will do? If a clean room or a surgical room has more microbial count or bioburden, what people do?
Need to do discontaminations.
Yeah, I need to do a lot of discontamination. What we basically call it as a fumigate. You fumigate it with some oxidants like the formaldehyde or magnesium oxide. Sorry, I think it's magnesium hydroxide. Or what? I mean, earlier we used to do like that with formaldehyde or formalin. Now we have aerosols. I mean, ready-made aerosols to do the fumigation to reduce. That everything has to be documented, even your environmental monitoring, like on the humidity and temperature, your particulate count, your health checkup, your records, okay, my bioburden. Because when I mean, again, I'm telling, of late there is a new clause that has come in 10993, that on every device you need to mention whether it's sterile or unsterile. Okay, what is the bioburden on it, endotoxin levels, and also the particulate matter on it, and what is the effect of it or risk of it to the patient. Earlier we used to check only the, say, sterile or unsterile and do bioburden. Okay, of course, endotoxin also. But now we need to mention what is the total particulate count, size of the particles, and how it is going to affect the patient. So all this has to be recorded. That's on contamination control. Okay, and health records, all this has to be done. I mean, employee health records. Okay, physically or logically separate devices that could cross contaminate each other. This is I already discussed. It's better you have segregated rooms for non-conforming products, okay, or non-compliant products, and separate rooms for compliant products. Okay, separate room for the QC tested products. Of course, you will also have a separate room for what we call as recalled products. Okay, and there will be a separate room for the products which you keep them as control samples. Okay, I'll tell you on the control samples later. So hygiene and health we discuss. This is mandatory. How it again based on the organization where you are working and what type of work you are doing. It's not mandatory outside people, employees in the clean room to do health checkups. I mean, regular health checkup. But those who are in clean rooms, because you are in a very controlled environment, okay, and there is a possibility that you contaminate a lot of things, and you also have an issue of I mean, infecting the other employees if you have some contagious diseases like that of TB, or I mean, recently we seen COVID. Okay, these are some of the things. To sum up, we talked about contamination control. Okay, of course, I mean, for all this, I'll be sharing the SOPs, formats of the records which you can see. Okay, enter into this. Work environment, environmental control, all this. So you can sum it up. Resource management process, yes. Yeah.
So I had a question. If the instrument is along with the software, do we have to definitely do that software analysis file for that?
Yeah, it's mandatory. If the equipment is accompanied with the software, you need to do a software one. But yeah, I'll tell you how to do the validation. See, there are some equipment which are very critical in acquiring the data, which have an devastating effects if it gives the wrong data. Okay, of course, it may lead to such an harmful situation on the patient safety. Okay, the critical
So
equipment.
that is even for microscopes and spectrometers. Is that applied to that also? Or
See, for them it is more on calibration. If-
uh,
Okay, you can do a calibration. Say there will be some equipment where you need to calibrate or do it every day, like your microscopes or pH meters, conductivity meters, and all that, because it is in-house where you can do it. Okay, you need to do calibration. But periodic calibration can be done if you think that there is, your QC report says that there are a lot of devices which are out of specifications coming out. Okay, or out of uh, tolerances or specifications, or if you find more rejections coming out, which means there is some issue with either your process or your measuring and monitoring equipment, mainly the measuring equipment. Okay, then you need to recalibrate and see. I'll come to that in clause 7. Actually, clause 7 is very big. Like, if there is something which has gone out of calibration and still you have approved the product, okay, and it has gone into the market, what will be, how you'll handle it? Okay, suppose your monitoring equipment are not functioning, you're measuring or you're not done the validations, like the software validations, and suddenly you found there is something wrong and you have done the revalidation and find that the earlier produced devices are out of specification because the validation is, not proper based on your revalidation reports. Okay, and like that assess for some like things you are talking about, and value, like a software that is attached to a equipment which shows temperature, or say monitors the pressure or something like that, or gives some measurements.
Sir,
Okay,
I'm
that's
asking if are doing a spectroscopic analysis, and we usually record the values through software attached to it. Whether it is mandatory to do software validation for that software too, or
absolutely you need to do software validation. But it's not necessary that you need to repeatedly do, but it again, Arulmati, what I'm trying to say, it depends upon, okay, how important is the software, how the results of the results given by the software affects the product. Okay, suppose I have, yeah, if there is, I'm talking about software like MRI or some of it, we have a lot of AIML software, okay, a lot of diagnostic software. If the diagnostic software goes wrong, it will give false positive results or false negative results. Okay, if there is no disease, also it says it has a disease, and if there is a disease, it gives negative results saying that, okay, I've seen so many devices like a mammogram, I've seen it has 5% chance of giving false positive or false negative results.
yes, sir, even in ELISA during COVID, there
Yeah,
were
like also
lots
you
of
have that.
false positive.
Yeah, that's the reason you need to look into what, look into the device, like what is the intended use of the device, how much risk it is carrying based on its results. See, if I'm not validating some of the things which have a minimal effect on the safety and performance, it's okay. Or I'll do it once a year or twice a year or quarterly. But there will be some devices or equipment where you need to do day-to-day calibrations or day-to-day monitoring validations, okay, which basically are in-house validation. And there will be some like you have control samples. When you have control samples, there is no need of doing everyday validation. Okay, suppose you are doing, I'm doing a diagnosis for a diagnosis with some equipment like the X-ray or CT or MRI. Okay, I'll have some control samples, positive controls and negative controls. First, I'll check them with positive controls and negative controls and see whether it's giving the right result. Okay, for positive control, it has to say it's positive. Negative control, it says there is negative. So with the positive and negative controls, if it is giving the right results, then you can continue. Okay.
Understood, sir.
Like, yeah, like say for simple things like in pH meters, now we are getting pH tablets. Okay. You just add 100 ml of water to our 3.4 pH tablet, and every day you can check it. Maybe after checking it, you can keep it in a refrigerator for it can be used for 2-3 months. The same, so I mean the liquid which you have used. So you can daily check pH meter and do the recalibration of it. And microscopes daily you can check it out if you have the standard. I mean standard scale for measuring the microscopic measurements. Okay, I mean that's what I'm saying. It becomes very important based on the results given by the measuring or monitoring equipment, how they are affecting your product safety. Have you got my point?
Oh, got your point, sir.
Anyway, I'll be sharing. Actually, it's there in clause 7. I'll be discussing with you on measuring and monitoring equipment. I think it's there in clause 7.6. Control on measuring and monitoring equipment. Okay, that I will discuss what to be calibrated daily, occasionally, and I mean frequently, and also in 7.3 we'll be discussing on validation and verification, including the softwares. Okay, design software and other things. And in submit also, and we will be discussing on validation. That time I'll tell you. Okay, when verification is not possible, that's what we call the gold standard rule is when verification is not possible, we'll do validation. Okay, what is verification? What is verification? Verification is something like comparing your design input to output. Okay, I have this specification. Okay, length of it or diameter of it. I have given this specification. What is the output? Is it matching or is it the same? Is it within the tolerance or is it with the same deviation or standard deviation or within the range? There will be a lot of words used. Okay, you are comparing your input with the output, that is verification. Okay, so when verification is not for certain things, okay, verification is not possible, then you do validation. Okay, validation is basically you are checking your product for the intended use. What your product needs to do, what your products need to perform. Okay, if you're, say, for example, I'm doing sterilization validation. What sterilization has to do? When you are steriling, what it has to do? at certain temperature or certain humidity, if it is an, I mean, there are a lot of different types of sterilization. Suppose if you take ethylene oxide, what should be the concentration of ethylene oxide? What should be the humidity? What should be the temperature? What should be the time? So we'll do different steps, different variables. Okay, we run a half cycle, quarter cycle with different temperatures. There will be a lot of process in validation. We call, call it as design of experiments. In R&D, we call it DOI. So here we call it as validation. So the purpose here is that it has to be sterile. The intended purpose of sterilization, has to be sterile. Given your clinical trials or clinical evaluations or validations, what you are looking at in your clinical studies, see, I said validation is something what you are talking about, the intended use of the product. I say my device has to perform the safety of the device. Clinical validation is I look at the performance and the safety of the device. So I check it in animals or in humans. Okay, for safety I check in animals. So I do biological evaluation, all toxicity tests I will do. And of course in animals also we do some performance or efficacy studies. But mostly in animals we'll do safety studies or clinical, toxicity studies, what we call biological evaluation. So in humans, since we can't do what we call typically in pharma, phase 1 studies. Phase 1 studies are in human volunteers. Okay. How can you test your device in a human volunteer? See, the guy don't have any disease. How can you test that in a person who don't have a disease, your device? So practically in medical devices, phase 1 clinical trials doesn't appear, or it's not necessary because there is no logic in doing phase 1. Looking at, say, phase 1 is basically done to look at the safety of the devices, but you have proved that safety in the animal models by doing biological
Or
evaluation.
to check the side effects of
Yeah, but that is in pharma, you'll do it with,
yes.
yeah, in pharma, they won't give therapeutic doses. Okay.
Correct.
Therapeutic is something you say, if you are using Dolo 650, they won't use Dolo 650. They'll use subtherapeutic doses and see what is the effect, mainly monitoring the pharmacokinetic, what we call PK parameters, pharmacokinetic parameters. What is the drug content in the blood, systemic circulation, tissue, what in tissues, what is the concentration? They look at the toxicity, but not the efficacy of it. Efficacy only or performance is only seen in patients, not in human volunteers. Okay, if somebody has a disease, then you'll understand the performance. Of course, you look at the safety also. So, most medical devices will directly come into class 2 or class 3. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trials. Okay, phase 2 is clinical trials done in limited population, like in, say, 20 or 30 patients, less than 100 patients. Okay, in clinical, there is a different style how we do it in medical device. What we call is as FIM, first in man studies. Actually, we do it in a very small population, like 10, 15. Okay, later we increase the population, but it is done in patients, not in healthy human volunteers. Those who are healthy, you can't test it like pharmaceutical. And later in phase 3, you do it in a large patient population, like in thousands. And in phase 4, what we typically do is the PMS. In pharma, they call it as pharmacovigilance.
Pharmacovigilance.
Yeah, we call it as post-marketing surveillance, where we collect the real-time data, real-world experience of our device, what we call RWE, real-world experience. where throughout wherever the device is used, you collect the data, both on safety, performance, complaints, XYZ. That is PMS. We do it in various forms through registries, through feedbacks, or through small clinical registries, or what we call periodic safety update reports, what it's called as PHER, and it is also PMCF, post-marketing clinical follow-up. These all are activities that come under PMS only. Your clinical feedback, okay, complaints, CAPA, or your periodic safety update report, PMCF, okay, post-marketing clinical follow-up, PMCF, clinical evidence, a lot of things like trend analysis, comparing your product with other products, okay, and doing a study on that. Okay, these are all part of PMS activities which are very, very essential now. With changes in the regulations that are happening, whether it is in US or whether it's in Europe or whether it's in India, now more companies are focusing all their energy, manpower on PMS, collecting the data post-market. Because we can't do, companies in India can't really do clinical trials. Basically, we don't bring out any new medical device. When you bring out new medical device, obviously you need to do clinical investigation. Okay, you need to do the investigation for that device. It costs crores. So a few companies like Merrill or some MNCs, international companies like Intuitive does that. But basically the SM is, they do a Me Too device or same similar device or same device, which is out of patent. Okay, and improvise something on that and collect the clinical evidence. Okay, do small registries and do all this stuff. And I mean, even the regulation also says that UMDR says that if you have clinical evidence, that is fine, but it has to be published. Okay, it has to be in public domain, which means whatever data you collect after the post PMS, okay, whether it's feedbacks or PMCF or PSU or CAPA complaints, trend analysis, all this stuff, you need to publish. Then you can get certification or you can get the approvals. Not necessarily when the UMDR came in force first time in 2021, every company was afraid, mainly the Indian companies, not only the Indian companies, all companies around the world were afraid where it has used a word, I mean a word in the UMDR Annexure 8, I think, Annexure 8, where it says that you need to do a clinical investigation. See, earlier we used to do what we call literature search route. Okay, we used to compare our device with already marketed devices which has a lot of clinical data. Okay, we used to compare and say we technically, okay, biologically, clinically, both devices are same. Okay, my device and already market devices are same. So we need to take out their device data, clinical data, and show that all are same. And but the new regulations are telling a very simple thing. Don't talk about the other device. Don't talk about your neighbor. Okay, don't talk about your predicative. Okay, predicative means almost similar to audio. Not same, could be similar or same, XYZ. But talk more about your device. Okay, of course you can do a literature search and compare and do a technical equivalence, biological equivalence, clinical equivalence. But the end of the day, you should talk more on your device, not on your predicated device. The predicated device is something they have done a lot of clinical investigation trials and they have produced their clinical evidence. So the MDR essentially, which I'll discuss how to get the clinical evidence, that is mostly we'll be talking on PMS. Okay, that is clinical evidence. Your PMC of PSU or customer feedbacks, complaints, COPA, like your marketing data, all has to be combined. So first people were afraid why we need to do clinical investigation, or it will become a big headache for the management. You need to spend a lot of money. So PMS is fine, like you can do a small PMC of registry, okay, where your devices are being already used in hospitals. Collect a retrospective data. Okay, there is two types, like retrospective, you can collect the data because already used, or prospective is somebody you plan it and do. Always prospective studies are better because you have everything under control. Retrospective is something already happened and you are pulling out the data from the hospitals or the doctors. You are taking the data which is already happened. Prospective is something which you have planned and which is under your control, and you have daily monitoring and you collect the data and record it, analyze it, report it. End of the day, you need to publish it. Okay, without publication, keeping your data in your racks or in your clouds or almaras doesn't work. You need to publish and make it, I mean, keep it in public domain and see, everybody sees that, okay, you have done this study, should be available with the end users like the doctors or technocrats or somebody like lab technicians. You need to explain, we have done this study, we have shown it. Okay, better you do a comparative study with a predicative. Okay, not theoretically telling, collecting literature and doing comparison and throwing lot of documents on the auditors or the reviewer. Talk more about your device, collect more clinical evidence on your device, okay, and prepare a report, okay, clinical evaluation report. For that, you need to have a plan, procedure, report, and after getting the report, you need to analyze the report and link it with the risk management. And that risk management has to be linked with the GSPR. GSPR has to be linked with the usability engineering. Okay. And of course, in between comes the biological evaluation to say that our product is not toxic. Okay. That's biological evaluation. And I said, I repeat it again, end of the day, you will get the IFU. Okay. Actually, I told the whole story about medical devices in last 10 minutes. But I mean, like clinical evidence is very, very important. I too agree with all the regulations that you compare with predicative and why you are selling your devices. You also show something clinical evidence, or clinical is more human evidence in humans, or evidence in human beings or in patients, that these patients have used your device and it is safe and effective. Not showing the documents on animals, biological evaluation, okay, it's good. And showing all the documents, actually that happens in 510K in US FDA where we do only in vitro equivalence. I mean, only we have the in vitro data, not in vivo. Okay, that's 510K, whether it's traditional, there are different 510Ks. Akanksha was that when I was discussing it. So this is what we need to do, even for your IMDR also, it's better you gather clinical evidence. That's why I'm again saying that PMS, okay, handling all this, your PMS plans, protocols, okay, analysis, predictive analysis, reports, all these are very important. I thought I could cover clause 7 also. Okay, this is like auditor's question list for resource management, which I'll share. What the auditors will ask, like there are 50 questions. Well, this will be very useful for your internal audit. When you plan the internal audit, like for every clause, I have questions. And based on that questions, you can produce the objective evidence. What is the COPA if there is non-compliance? Okay. Actually, I'm very tired today and I have a very sore throat. So I want to stop it here and maybe tomorrow, not tomorrow. Yeah, next Friday we'll continue. Is it fine? In between,
Yes,
I'll be
sir.
sharing a lot of documents like the SOPs on SOPs, already shared a lot of SOPs on clause 4. Clause 5 I'll share, clause 6 also I'll share, and clause 7 also I'll share, because once you go through these SOPs, you'll have good understanding. I can close clause 7 because clause 7 is very, very important because it talks a lot on the production and provision control, like how you understand production planning. Second important thing is it talks about your design and development. Okay, third important thing is it talks about your purchasing process, verification mechanism. And the fourth or fifth is it talks about how you control your how you work on control your measuring and monitoring, do equipment. So these are 5 things. One is on your production, second is R&D or design and development, third is on purchase. Okay, fourth is on your equipment that are used in measurement and monitoring, how you control them. I think there is 5, which is on preservation, I think. Customer related activity or customer communication and customer relation. Okay, this will cover in next class before I switch to clause 8, which is very important. Yeah. Any questions?
No, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll be in touch with you on WhatsApp and I'll be sharing a lot of documents. And of course, I'll also have one webinar this week, which I'll share with you on AML. If you are interested, you can join. Okay. Not
Sure.
this week. Yeah, next week, I think on December 4th or something. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll let you know. Take care, guys. Bye.
Hi, sir.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.